ਸੋ ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਅੱਜ ਸ਼ਬਾਨਾ ਮਹਿਮੂਦ ਨੇ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ 32 ਪੇਜ ਦੀ ਔਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਲੋਕ ਇਲੀਗਲੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਮੰਗ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਲੁਕ ਛੁਪ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਓਵਰਸਟੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਵੀਜ਼ਿਆਂ 'ਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਮੰਗ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਓਵਰਸਟੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਬਤ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਊਗਾ। ਇਸ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਆ, ਦੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਕੌਨਸਨਟਰੇਟ ਕਰਦਾ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਨੰਬਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਘਟਾਈ ਜਾਵੇ, ਅਤੇ ਦੂਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੱਚੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਝੂਠੇ ਕੇਸ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ, ਫਾਲਸ ਕਲੇਮਾਂ ਪਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ, EU ਫੀ ਵੇਵਰ ਵਗੈਰਾ, FLR, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਅਪੀਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸਿਰਫ ਇੱਕ ਅਪੀਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਊਗੀ, ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਪੀਲ 'ਤੇ ਕੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ। ਇੱਕ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਪੀਲਸ ਬੋਡੀ ਸੈਟਅਪ ਕਰਨੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੱਜਿਸ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਡ ਹੋਗੇ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਜਲਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਫਾਸਟ ਟਰੈਕ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅਪੀਲ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰੂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਅਪੀਲ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਵੇਟਿੰਗਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਾਂ ਕਰੰਟਲੀ ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਾਟਾ ਇਹ ਪਾਓਗੇ, ਵੇਟਿੰਗ ਟਾਈਮਸ ਇਹਦੇ ਘਟੂਗੇ, ਅਤੇ ਆਲਸੋ ਨੰਬਰ ਆਫ ਅਪੀਲਸ ਦੇ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਜੋ ਹੋਗੇ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗਿਣਤੀ 'ਚ ਵਧੂਗੇ। ਦੂਜਾ ਜੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਜੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਨਜ਼ੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 5 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੱਕੇ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਸੀ। ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਨਜ਼ੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, 2.5 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਦਿਆ ਕਰਨੇ, ਉਹ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਡ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ 'ਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ। ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ 'ਚ ਲੜਾਈ ਹਟ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹਟ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਪਸ ਭੇਜੂਗੇ, ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਦੋਗੇ 20 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੱਕ। 20 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੱਕੇ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ, ਇੰਡੈਫੀਨਿਟ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿਚਾਲੇ ਆਟੋਮੈਟਿਕਲੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੱਦ ਸਕੋਗੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਰਾਈਟ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਠਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਨਜ਼ੂਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਸੱਦ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਵਗੈਰਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਠਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਸਿੱਖਣ, ਅਰਨ ਕਰਨ, ਹੋਰ ਰੂਟ 'ਤੇ ਆਉਣ, ਤਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੱਕ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ। ਔਰ PR ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਥੱਲੇ 20 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਊਗੀ। ਜੋ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਸੀਕਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ, ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਘਾਟਾ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ, ਅਤੇ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕ ਮਿਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹਟਾਈ ਜਾਊਗੀ। ਸੋ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੇਣਾ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਬਣਾ। ਹੋਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਛਾਪੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ 8000 ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਛਾਪੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੇ ਆ। ਔਰ ਖ਼ਾਸ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਗਿਗ ਇਕੋਨਮੀ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਦੇ ਆ, ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਸੈਲਫ ਇੰਪਲੋਇਡ ਐਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ, ਉਬਰ ਈਟਸ ਥਰੂ, ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਡਰਾਈਵਰਾਂ, ਸੈਲਫ ਇੰਪਲੋਇਡ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਐਮਾਜ਼ਨ DPD ਵਾਲੇ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਛਾਪੇ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨੇ ਉਸ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਾਂ 'ਤੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਾਈਨਾਂ ਵੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀਆਂ। ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਸੈਲਫ ਇੰਪਲੋਇਡ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਇੰਪਲੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਟੈਕਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਰਦੇ। ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੂਗਾ, ਉਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਰਹੂਗਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਨੀਡ ਲੁੱਕ ਆਊਟ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਾਧਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ 'ਚ। ਹੋਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਗਲੇ 4 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਿਜੀਟਲ ID ਰੋਲ ਆਊਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਲਈ, ਕਿ ਸਾਰੇ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਈਵਨ UK ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਡਿਜੀਟਲ ID ਹੋਊਗੀ। ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਸਟੇ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਰਾਦਰ ਦੈਨ ਜੋ ਹੁਣ ID ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਫਰੋਡ ਵੀ ਘਟੇਗਾ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰਿਮੂਵਲ ਹੁਣ ਸਪੀਡ ਅਪ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ। ਰਿਮੂਵਲ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਲਗਭਗ ਜਦ ਦੀ ਲੇਬਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਜੁਲਾਈ 'ਚ ਆਈ ਆ, ਪਿਛਲੇ 2024 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ 50,000 ਬੰਦਾ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਾਂ ਵੋਲੰਟਰੀ ਰਿਟਰਨ ਜਾਂ ਰਲ ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ 50,000 ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ UK ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ 14-15 ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਰੈਂਪ ਅਪ ਕਰਨਾ। ਬੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਚਾਨਕ ਹੀ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫੈਮਲੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਅੱਗੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਅੱਗੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫੈਮਲੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਲਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਫੈਮਲੀ ਦਾ ਕਲੇਮ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਫਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ FLR ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਈ ਹੋਊਗੀ ਰਿਫਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋ ਜੂਗੀ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਛੇਤੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਫੈਮਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਛੇਤੀ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਵਜੂਦ ਕਿ ਬੱਚਾ ਸਕੂਲ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕਲੀ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਬਾਨਾ ਮਹਿਮੂਦ ਐਂਡ ਲੇਬਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ 'ਤੇ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਛਪ ਗਈ ਹੈ। 32 ਪੇਜ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਗੇ ਈਜ਼ੀ ਸੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਓਵਰਸਟੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਅਤੇ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਲੈਣਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕਲੀ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਓਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਇੱਕ ਛਾਪੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ 4-4 ਬੰਦੇ 5-5 ਬੰਦੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਭੇਜਣ ਨੂੰ। ਵੈਸੇ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਛੜਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਛਾਪਾ ਮਾਰੋ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਦਾ, ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 5-6 ਇਕੱਠੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੌਨਸਨਟਰੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਔਰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਓਵਰਸਟੇਅਰ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਰਿਫਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਇੱਕ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਛੇਤੀ ਪਾਸਪੋਰਟ ਜਾਂ ਟਰੈਵਲ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਲਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਇਨਕਾਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਲੈਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਕੱਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੇਲਡ ਜਾਂ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਬੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਕਾਹਦੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਇਫ ਯੂ ਨੋਟ ਵਿਲਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਟੇਕ ਬੈਕ ਯੋਰ ਫੇਲਡ ਔਰ ਯੋਰ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ asylum seekers, failed asylum seekers or your illegal overstayers. So that's important. That is countries 3 ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ specifically mention ਕੀਤੀਆਂ at the moment: Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola, Namibia, ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਲਗਭਗ 6,000 ਲੋਕ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ। But also ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ਼ਾਰਾ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਇੰਡੀਆ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ, ਬੰਗਲਾਦੇਸ਼, ਸ਼੍ਰੀਲੰਕਾ, ਨਾਈਜੀਰੀਆ, ਗਾਨਾ and South American countries like Brazil ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਲੀਗਲਸ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਲੀਗਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ UK ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਏ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਕੱਟ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਲਸੋ ਯੂਰਪੀਅਨ ਕਨਵੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ, ਜੋ ਇੱਥੇ UK ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕਰਦਾ ਲੋ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਈ ਲੋਕ ਕੇਸ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਬੇਸ 'ਤੇ ਐਂਡ ਹੋਰ ਕੇਸ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਜਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਰਾ ਆ, ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕਲੀ ਜੱਜਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੇਸ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜੋ ਲੋਕ ਬੇਬੁਨਿਆਦੀ ਕੇਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹਟਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਫਿਊਜ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਛੇਤੀ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਰਾਏ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਆ? ਦੇਖੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਰਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਹੱਲੇ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਟਾਈਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੀ ਹੋਇਆ। ਸ਼ਬਾਨਾ ਮਹਿਮੂਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਆ, ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਲੋਹਾ ਲੋਹੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਟਦਾ ਆ। ਓਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਰੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਕੌਣ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਪੱਕਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਕੌਣ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੀ ਟਾਈਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਗਲੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿੱਤਣੀ ਆ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਰਿਫੋਰਮ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਪਰ ਇਸ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਨੇ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕੀਤਾ, ਰਿਫੋਰਮ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਸ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਆਸ ਰੱਖੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਫਿਰ ਆ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਗਲੇ 4 ਸਾਲ 'ਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਖਤੀ ਹੀ ਦਿਖਾ ਲਈਆਂ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਢਿੱਲ ਦੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਨਾ ਰੱਖੀਏ।
Time to see what's making the headlines in today's papers in our news review. Joined by Harjap Singh Bhangal, immigration solicitor, human rights lawyer. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
I should imagine your inbox was slightly busier yesterday?
Just slightly, yeah. And probably all week, I think. In the weekend, just very busy with Shabana Mahmood's announcements and what's going to happen, the uncertainty of it all. But it was interesting to see what she had to say yesterday and the whole rhetoric and reasoning around it. And we're obviously going to be dissecting it all week, no doubt.
Yeah, how do you deploy that? Because people will come to you with instant questions, I'm sure, and you don't have instant answers yet. The government doesn't have the full answers yet.
Yeah, obviously this is all announcements of what's going to happen, and there's no time scale as such, and until something comes in force, it cannot be implemented. So it's very hard to give a time scale to people who are saying, well, is this going to affect me? My application's already in the Home Office. Will this apply to that? Will it apply retrospectively? And until we actually see the full detail of it, which there's quite a bit of detail in this 32-page statement, but until we actually see the nitty-gritty of it, we can't actually give a definitive answer. It's a bit like a doctor trying to give an opinion without having an X-ray in front of him. So it's very hard, and obviously big decisions are very hard to make in that respect based on just supposition or sort of estimates.
And we're seeing page 6 and 7 here of the Eye, and they're focusing in part on the detail, but also on some of the backlash from Labour MPs as some of this.
Yeah, obviously measures like this are going to be controversial, but a lot of this was to appease Labour MPs as well, especially the Red Wall MPs who are now fearing for their seats in 4 years' time. Labour MPs really are fearing that they will be decimated like the Conservatives were at the last election, and immigration for their constituents is a key issue. So they have to do something in respect of seeing us tightening down on the rules, stop allegedly Britain being seen as a soft touch. And this is sort of the first of a few measures, I would think. And this will go on for a few years. I can see this just being the start of Labour trying to try and test, to try and smash the gangs, stop the boats with these slogans. I think the smash the gangs slogan is pretty much abandoned now. And in part, it's an admission to say, well, hold on, we can't actually catch the people smugglers, so let's try and end people smuggling by punishing or putting penalties on the people who are being smuggled. and the refugees as such.
I'm interested to what degree, when you have conversations with clients, customers, people that you deal with, to what degree they talk to you about the societal narrative that they experience around them as when they're putting in claims, etc. To what degree does the stuff in the papers and the stuff on social media, etc., impact them?
I think that recently there has been a lot of rhetoric around it, and especially with when people are marching on the streets, whether it's in favour of immigration or whether it's anti-immigration, unrest is never good in a country, and potential conflict is never good. People always have different views, and people are entitled to that. However, it's very rare to see the side of immigrants being put in Parliament or on TV, and it's very rare for somebody to focus on that. And just a bit of consultation or a bit, perhaps, of their viewpoint coming across would probably be appreciated. I think we need to get down to the roots of these problems, why people leave their homes in the first place, why some are economic migrants, why some flee the war zones that they do. Are the countries safe for them to be returned to? And what they want to achieve here. Do they want to integrate here? Are they going to just go into make their own societies or go into their own neighbourhoods as such? And what we can do as a country, just to everyone to get on with each other and just to everyone to prosper.
You talk about the root causes. We had some reporting by our special correspondent Alex Crawford out of Libya, and kind of focusing on, in many respects, one could argue that the 27 miles of the Channel is the easy part of that journey. You know, if you've left Eritrea, kind of referred to as Africa's North Korea, you've then made your way across war-torn Sudan. You've ended up in Libya, which is a country that's been gripped by a crisis for the best part of almost 2 decades now, but certainly at least 15 or so years. Then across the Mediterranean, then across Europe, you get to France. I should imagine for a lot of people, if you've come that far, you're going to give it a go. You're going to give it a good few goes.
Well, if the fear of death by getting on a dinghy does not deter you to come into the UK, then will any of these measures announced yesterday deter somebody? And remember, we do get a trickle down. So I think it's 110,000 of people claimed asylum last year in the past 12 months. Now, that's not a great in comparison to other countries. And in fact, the countries that take 10,000 of people claimed asylum last year in the past 12 months, now that's not a great in comparison to other countries. And in fact, the countries that take on the most refugees, we're probably unaware of. Countries like Turkey, Colombia, Iran, they take in refugees in their millions. So it's people do take these journeys and they do come across, and it's hard to compare different countries. So we often compare, well, recently we've been comparing to the Danish model and how Denmark has managed to slow a number of people claiming asylums down. That's a lot of it has to do with language. If people are required to learn Danish, it's a lot harder for someone from Asia or Africa to learn Danish. It's a lot easier for them, having grown up with English being imposed on them and being just a universal language. And the preference would be to go there. It's not asylum shopping as such. They have a right to claim asylum wherever they want, and the government has a right to process them according to the law. The problem with our system is it's the processing, and the institution which deals with it is so broken. And the Parliament admits
And nobody
that.
seems to disagree with that statement. Even the department itself will admit to shortcomings.
Home Affairs Select Committee report for the past 12 years that I've been reading it every year says the Home Office is not fit for purpose. Now, if we have a machinery that wasn't fit for purpose, let's say we're producing this programme and our cameras were not fit for purpose, our audio was not fit for purpose, it doesn't matter how good we are, the output is not going to be brilliant.
And it is worth noting it's a fantastic team.
It's the best team and the best show ever.
Fit for purpose. You referenced the Danish model there. Shameless plug for a second here. If you listen to the daily podcast on Sky News, which is available via the app, I presented it yesterday. We explored that very issue about Denmark. So it's, it's there. It's 10 minutes of your time, well worth your time. Once we're done on air, later on. Let's move on, shall we, to some more announcements, a kind of policy that was announced yesterday. This is on the front page of the Financial Times. The ban on resale of tickets over face value in crackdown on industrial-scale ticket touts. And the Times here, the Financial Times, pointing out, obviously Oasis was that big kind of focal point of the surge pricing. But not only was there the surge pricing, but then there's the resale. So some tickets for Oasis shows in Wembley Stadium in London were listed at more than £4,000 a ticket. It is remarkable.
It is amazing, yet they still find the buyers. And I must admit, I have used ticket resale sites such as Viagogo and to buy tickets, premium tickets for concerts and matches, which you cannot get online because as soon as these tickets go on sale, they're done within about 2 hours. So it's hard to get tickets. But there needs to be more vetting about who's buying these tickets, in what bulk numbers they're buying these tickets. Now, there is always going to be a resale value, especially on premium products. So, and limited edition products, we see whether it's cars, whether it's watches, there's going to be some sort of that. Now, if the government wants to stamp that out, or if companies want to stamp that out, then they've really got to be careful as to who they sell it to and limit the numbers in the first place. But there's so many ways around it where people use aliases, multiple email accounts, multiple identities to do that. And it's going to be very hard. And I think this is going to hit the resale companies really hard. And I expect them to be lobbying their MPs because they do literally make millions out of it. You're right. A £100 ticket could be sold for £4,000.
Remarkable. And there's always going to be that challenge as well. As you manage to get 4 and there's 5 of you. And you've got to find one for your mate, and kind of as it gets closer and closer to the date, people will be kind of prepared to do more and more. I'd be interested to see if platforms such as, I don't know, Viagogo or StubHub start kind of having their operations kind of curtailed as a result of this. What's going to happen to Instagram stories where people are like, I've got a ticket for sale? Because the face value might be X, but you might offer it for Y, and people maybe will transfer you that money. So does it move that secondary kind of resale profit market somewhere else?
Well, what's happened is a lot of football clubs, and I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan for my sins, and they actually use these barcodes and scan codes which change every 10, 15 seconds. So it's very hard to resell that ticket. You have to do it via an app or an official ticket exchange on your phone. And I think that might be the way forward in that respect. People selling their tickets on Instagram and on Facebook. However, the old style ticket in a paper form, that was okay. You could do it with that. But with the new digital technology, especially with the advent of AI, these codes can change every 15 seconds, every 30 seconds. So it'll be very hard to get it through. I think that's what they'll be looking at, something to do like that. But it will definitely leave a lot of ticket touts and potential people out of pocket. And also, what about if you can't go at the last minute? Is that your ticket wasted? Do you give that away?
Or you just resell it at face value, potentially?
Yeah, exactly.
Two figures just to finish on. The new rule is expected to shave up to £40 from the average cost of a resale ticket, so saving millions of pounds for fans every year. And apparently, according to Let's Stamp It Tout, hard to say, Tout's cost concert goers £145 million a year in elevated prices. So
I know, but I would ask the question, Gareth, that who's the bigger fan? Somebody who buys a ticket to see Gareth for £40 or someone who's willing to pay £4,000 to buy a ticket to see
I'm generally
Gareth?
having to pay people to come and see me. So, I don't think anyone's paying, It's normally out of my pocket. I appreciate it. It was very charming. Let's move on to the Times, actually. This is a story that I think you had spotted about Ozempic.
Yeah.
And drones being used to smuggle Ozempic into jails.
It's crazy with our jail system at the moment. I mean, I'm a solicitor and I frequent jails. I see people who are in jail, people who shouldn't be in jail. And what is going on with the jails? We're letting out people who shouldn't be let out, letting them out early. They're coming back and telling us, actually, I should be in jail. We're telling them, no, you need to go to the train station and get a train, go wherever you want. And we're letting stuff into prisons which shouldn't be in prisons, like mobile phones.
Yeah.
And imagine if a criminal had killed a member of your family and next time you see them, they should be in jail, but they're on a mobile phone, on a social media app, talking about their life and showing you the goods and the access they have to stuff in jails. How would that make the victims feel? That's not a prison sentence as such. That's almost living akin to what people say is in a hotel facility. And now we're seeing that these drones are smuggling in Ozempic and steroids. We are a country which prides ourselves on security. We have specialist security measures, specialist security staff. We can go and grab people like Osama bin Laden from their strongholds, and we can grab people like Gaddafi. We were talking about Libya. Saddam Hussein, put them on trial from the middle of their palaces and their guards. Yet we can't seem to stop the drones, which are delivering cigarettes, drugs into prisons, and mobile phones, which seem to be rife in prisons. I'm not sure that how the victims would feel. I don't know how they would feel if they knew that criminals had access to mobile phones and social media app and they were calling and WhatsApping people and their family members, this should be a punitive measure and a reformative measure. Surely prison should be. So it just, something just about this screams it's not right. Once again, is it an institution that's not fit for purpose? I would probably say so. And where's the investment going to this to stop these drones? We can't blow a few drones out of the sky or we can't stop them. It just seems to me incredulous. It's the same excuse that the government used. We can't catch people smugglers who use the same route from the Calais and the French coast to the Kent coast for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And we're saying they're too clever for us, they're 4 steps ahead of us.
Make this Christmas a jingle belter. From Aldi's well-nice appetizers to their proper naughty desserts. And some right crackers in between. There's everything you need to make sure your table spread slays. Go all fancy with Aldi, specially selected.
I wonder if things can be taken into prisons, can things, people, be taken back out? You know, there are agricultural drones that can lift 80, 90, 100 kilos.
Well, at the moment, they're just letting people out the front door. But actually, there is a question that how far away are we from a prison breakout? And the technology that is used. We often see this in films and think it's fictional. Films like Fast and Furious and Prison Break, and we think, wow, you know, this is just a film. But this is actually real life now. And you know, real life is emulating or, you know, copying the films. So we do have to wonder what the government is going to do about it. What purpose does prison serve if you can shop for goods that you need and people are living their life normally, except for the fact that instead of being with their loved ones, that they just see their loved ones once a month, but if they can chat to them every day on WhatsApp, then what's the difference? It's almost like working abroad.
Yeah, it's a big challenge for the government, that one, certainly. We were going to talk about households being offered aircon. We were going to talk about the heavyweight boxing. We were going to talk about parasocial being the word of the year. We were going to talk about Cadbury's chocolate bars being cut in half, but we've only got 10 seconds left. So
right, okay.
all I can say to end the programme is thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Joy to have you. Thank you for watching. All the rest of the day's headlines with Sophie Wilf up next.
So today, Shabana Mahmood has announced sweeping changes in the most radical proposals to asylum and refugee and immigration law in recent times. Mainly it concentrates on 2 things. One, reducing the number of people who come here illegally or via small boats and then claim asylum. Also, the number of people who come on visas, say student visas and visitors, and claim asylum. And 2, removing those who are already here without a visa or illegal or have had their asylum claims refused quickly. They are the 2 core aspects to these new reforms. Let's break it down. So for the first one, what the UK government is proposing to do is pull out the pull factors. By doing this, at the moment, asylum seekers get a 5-year visa, and after that, they get indefinite leave to remain. They can apply to become permanent here. The government is going to change that and give them 2.5-year visas, after which it will be reviewed. If their country is seen as safe, they'll be told to go home, or they'll be extended, but it has to be extended up to 20 years before they get indefinite leave to remain. Asylum seekers will no longer automatically be allowed to bring their family members over. They'll have to qualify under certain routes. They'll have to work and earn, and also there will be a language requirement put in there. At the moment, if you're granted asylum, then you can call your family over with hardly any measures like this in place. So at the moment, the UK government has to house and fund asylum seekers while their claims are pending. This will become discretionary, and it'll be up to the local councils and governments if they want to do so. And also it'll be conditional on whether the person's broken the laws or not, whether they attend all their immigration appointments, and other factors, whether they can work but they just don't want to work. So that will be considered before any support is decided by the government to be given to asylum seekers. So the statement also mentions that there will be increased raids on employers, and especially on those employers in the gig economy who usually use the defence, oh, well, the person is self-employed, they're contracting. That no longer will be a defence, and the government is working with the gig economy employers to ensure that they carry out the right checks. Also, digital ID will be introduced by the end of this Parliament, by the end of 4 years, to make sure that everyone carries it with them in the right to work, so that the permission can be seen by employers. Now we come into the second part about how the government want to increase removals, how they're going to make sure that people who are living here are sent back. So what they're saying is they're signing more return agreements, making sure countries where there's now peace, according to the government, they will take back their refugees. Countries such as Syria are specifically mentioned in the statement. Also, the biggest, I think, controversial element is now the crackdown on families. So families living here illegally and those using their kids and the long residents to stay here, they will be cracked down on and they'll be removed a lot earlier. There usually was a Home Office principle that they wouldn't touch families as such. However, now there's going to be a willingness to, as soon as an asylum claim is refused, to try and get that family back to its country of origin, back to where they've come from as such, and even financial assistance will be offered for families to go back. If a family refuses to go back, they will no longer be given any sort of support from the government. Many problems to removal comes when the original countries from where the asylum seekers have come, or people who have come who have overstayed, take time or refuse to take back their refugees or refuse to give travel documents. The government, in relation to this, has reciprocated and said that we're going to cut your visas. If you're not going to take back your illegals, then you'll have no more visas. 3 countries were specifically mentioned: Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Namibia, Angola. They're examples given, but other countries as well, such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Ghana, are on the radar. Sri Lanka, these countries are on the radar, and we can expect to see a reduction in visas if these countries don't take their failed asylum seekers and their overstayers back. In relation to appeals, there's only going to be one appeal allowed now. So no more multiple appeals, no more multiple applications to try and delay being sent back. An appeal or an application, especially a frivolous one, will no longer try and protect you from being sent back. The government are really cracking down on that. They're going to set up a new body of adjudicators, or an appeals body, which is going to fast track appeals, because currently there's a huge backlog in relation to that. So expect to see a lot more appeals heard a lot more quickly. So the crux of that, the statement, like I said, is in 2 parts. One, stopping people from coming here by cutting out the pull factors, such as a free accommodation and the fact that people aren't sent back and their cases go on for a long time, and the fact that families, the UK doesn't seem to send back families, cutting them factors out of it, and more stringent right to work checks, and increasing the number of people being sent back. So more raids, more sending back of families, the starting of sending back of families, and sanctions on countries who refuse to take back their illegal people, their overstayers, their failed asylum seekers.
Great to have you back on Radio London. Firstly, can I ask you, what's your reaction to what we know so far? As we've heard from BBC London's Barry Caffrey, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is due to announce changes to the UK's asylum system in the Commons within this hour.
Well, very tough and very radical. It's definitely the talk of what people want to hear, the public wants to hear, in respect of the Labour Party voters who are now switching to reform. And this might go some way to win them back, in effect. But it seems to be that the Labour government has identified where it thinks that the previous governments have been lacking, and have decided to, well, on paper anyway, take action on that. The proof will be in the pudding and the numbers. It highlights 2 things, really. It says it wants to concentrate on. One is bringing the number of people who are coming here illegally, especially on small boats, down, and also the amount of people coming on visas claiming an asylum down, and increasing the amount of people who shouldn't be here, sending them back, i.e. removals. So that is the crux of this, and the whole thing, the 2 things that really this whole new policy is going to be concentrating on.
Do you welcome it? What's your actual reaction to it thus far, then?
I think it feeds into a lot of rhetoric, and I think it feeds into a lot of fear of Labour MPs fearing a wipeout at the next election, like they wiped the Conservatives out last year. And however, it does show that immigration is a concern amongst the voter, because if it wasn't, then these measures wouldn't need to be taken. And therefore, it's doing what it's saying what it thinks it should do, i.e. sending people who shouldn't be here back. But also, I think it's quite harsh in some respect. And
why?
I tell you why. There's talks of taking asylum seekers' jewellery off them.
And that just reminds me back to when gold teeth were removed from the Jewish community, when they were seeking refuge. It's a real, is that what we're sinking to now?
Well, I mean, the Labour MP Alex Norris has said, he's the Minister for Border Security and Asylum. He says these moves will actually restore trust within the current system.
Well, who for? I mean, first of all, it's not a reform of the system. So there's nothing about in this how they're going to stop the gangs. Right. So what's been the motto of the Labour Party government and the Conservative ones before that? Stop the boats, stop the gangs. What does this say about anything in this document say about the people smugglers? Nothing. Is this going to stop people smugglers putting people on a boat? It doesn't say anything about that. And also the fact is you don't stop drug dealing by locking up all the drug users, and you won't stop people smuggling by punishing all the asylum seekers and being more stringent on them. You need to go out and go grab the problem.
Harjap, you say punishing asylum seekers, but the Conservatives have criticised the government for abandoning the Rwanda scheme. They say that would have put people off coming here altogether. Would that have been the better option then?
Well, it didn't. Even though when it was mooted and when it was theoretically in practice, it didn't stop people. If the fear of drowning in the channel does not stop you getting in a dinghy, crossing choppy waters, risking your life with kids and your family, then do you think the fear of being put on a plane to Rwanda is going to do that? It's obviously not going to do that. The only thing that's going to stop the boats crossing is catching the people who are organising these crossings.
Well, inspiration for some of the policies seem to have come from Denmark within a socially democratic left-leaning government since the change which took place a decade ago in 2015. Now, their asylum applications are actually the lowest in 40 years. They've successfully removed 95% of rejected asylum seekers. So this seems like a policy that works.
Well, it works for Denmark, but Denmark doesn't have a small boat problem. So it doesn't have a small boats crossing problem at all. The other thing that works for Denmark is they make people learn Danish. And Danish is a lot harder to learn. So if someone was coming from Asia or Africa, they'd be more inclined and probably grown up learning English as opposed to Danish. I mean, how many people in the Asian community or African community can speak Danish, regardless of how long they've been here? I would say very few. But how many can speak English? And we know the answer to that. Even the South American community can speak English, but they're not comfortable speaking Danish. So that has been a big deterrent for them, where people have thought, well, hold on, do I really want to learn Danish? And if I can't get to Denmark.
So you're, as an immigration solicitor, you're saying what then? That the real solution is tackling gangs? Is that the only solution here in your eyes?
Well, the idea is to stop the boats, right? And to stop who organises the boats? The gangs. Who makes money out of sending off the boats? The gangs. Why can't we catch them? Are you trying to tell me, or is this government trying to tell me that they can go to Pakistan, find bin Laden, hold up in a stronghold, get him out of his house, put him on a boat, capture him, or a Gaddafi, or a Saddam Hussein from their strongholds, but they can't catch some people smugglers, despite the elite units, the services that we have, the special units and ops services that we have. We can overthrow governments in different countries, but we can't catch the gangs who are using the same route from Calais to Kent for the past 20 years.
However, this is a wider context of what many Brits are saying with regards to families that are still here within the UK, within London, dealing with their rejected asylum claims. What about current asylum seekers that are here right now?
Yeah, I mean, this does mention, and it goes in hard on families. It also mentions that Britain has been very loath to send back families in recent years. But now that position is going to change. And obviously, when people have been here for a period of time and their children are born here and they spend a period of time here, then they develop rights. And sending children back, say, who spent maybe 8-9 years here to a country where they've never grown up, never been there, and, don't speak the language, is that acceptable? I mean, that's the whole question here. But here, it looks like in this the Labour government are going to say, well, as soon as they're rejected, we're going to try and remove the families, which I think makes sense. There's no point in a failed asylum seeker allowing them to remain here all of that time. And, this is what the government sort of intend to do. And in that, it admits it's been failing. Now, the key is the numbers. How many numbers are you going to be able to send back? If we look at all the figures
from 2009, let's say, the most amount of people sent back in 1 year has not topped 70,000. So if you've got 50,000 coming and you're sending 70,000 back, and there's an estimated million people or over a million people without visas living in the UK, how long is it going to take you to send them back? Is that really going to be possible? It's going to be a numbers game, Shay, in the end. What the government will be judged on in 4 years' time is the numbers of the people who are coming in have gone down and the number of people going back have gone up.
Harjap, always a pleasure having you on Radio London. Do come into the studio next time. Thank you for joining me on Radio London. Harjap Singh, Bhangal, immigration.